Ohio State was just one or two plays away from being in the college football playoff last season. And I think a lot of people forget that. We're going to go through and do our 2024 predictions, but first, some thoughts on this team. Again, you look at that Michigan game, they lost a close game, and they could have very easily won that game. And if they had, this team would have been undefeated and would have been in the college football playoff, assuming they would have won their game in the Big Ten championship, which I'm sure they would have. And again, it just seems like everyone thought Ohio State was down last year. They had a bad year. Like, I don't know where that comes from. This was a really, really good team that was right there with a chance to potentially play for a national championship. And you look at what they've done on defense, the way they've revamped this defense, it's now become one of the best defenses really in the country. And they have so much coming back on that side of the ball, first of all. And then on the offensive side, you add in Judkins to go with Henderson, and you've got, I think, one of the best, or if not the best, 1-2 punch at running back in all of college football. You've got still good receivers, some young guys that are going to have to step up, an offensive line that should be good, and it does come back to the quarterback position. So what are they going to get out of Will Howard coming in from Kansas State? That's the question mark. How good is he going to be in this offense against Big Ten competition? Chip Kelly now the offensive coordinator. If it works, this team can win a national championship. If it doesn't work, they could lose a couple of games. But still, even with their defense, I think this is a team that's going to be in the college football playoff no matter what. But it does seem like they're kind of all in on this season. Let's get to the predictions. Vegas has their win total at 10.5. So 10-2, 11-1, most likely for Ohio State. And again, if they go 10-2, they're going to be in the college football playoff, especially with all the tough games on the schedule. Now, they did wind up with one of the easier schedules, honestly, in the Big Ten, especially in the non-conference. Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall. They do, though, play Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. So you're talking about playing three of probably the three top teams in the Big Ten outside of Ohio State. So, yeah, the Big Ten schedule is going to be tough, but they did luck out in the non-conference. And so, again, I don't see any weaknesses with this Ohio State team. If Will Howard struggles, the quarterback position doesn't play great for them, then, yeah, they're not going to have a chance to win a national championship. But if he steps in there and plays really well, and, I don't feel really, really confident one way or the other about him being super successful or being, not so successful. I think he'll be at least solid. And again, with Chip Kelly running this offense, now you've got a quarterback back there that can run, which I think will be used. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a really good year. But it's not for sure, again, coming from the Big 12 to the Big 10. But again, my thoughts are that he will at least be really solid. But yeah, they should take care of business in these first three games. Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, all should be easy wins. And then they'll play Michigan State to open up Big Ten play on September 28th. They'll play that game on the road. Michigan State, new coach, rebuild. They've lost even more transfers in the spring, and so I don't expect them to be very good. I think Ohio State's defense probably completely shuts them down, and they win this game fairly comfortably. So I've got them starting 4-0. Then they play Iowa on October 5th. An interesting game. Iowa's going to have a really good defense again, and you just wonder about the offense. They made some changes there. If Cade McNamara can stay healthy, they've also got options there at quarterback, bringing in the transfer from Northwestern. And so you feel like this offense is going to be better for Iowa, but I'm still looking at it, and I think they're going to lack playmakers at wide receiver. And so I think they have a hard time scoring against a defense like Ohio State's. But I think Ohio State's offense might have some trouble in this game as well. So I expect this to be a very low-scoring game. I think if the game was at Iowa, they might have a chance to pull off the upset. But playing at home, Ohio State's defense, they may pitch a shutout in this game, and the offense will get them just enough. So they win a low-scoring game, but I do have them winning this game over Iowa. Then you look at Oregon next on the schedule, October 12th. Oh boy, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be one of the biggest games. You look at Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. I think those are the two biggest games of the regular season. Oregon's going to be really good too. They are absolutely loaded, really both sides of the ball. They've got a really good secondary that I think is going to be hard for Ohio State to throw the ball against. They're going to be good offensively. I think, Ohio State obviously going to have a great defense, but Oregon's going to have a really good offense. So which one wins that battle? Oregon's offense, which is going to be elite, against Ohio State's defense, it's going to be elite. That's going to be a great matchup there. Ohio State, I think, is going to have some success running the football in this game, but you wonder if you do struggle a little bit throwing it against a really good secondary, that could hurt them maybe in the red zone. Maybe they settle for some field goals. I think Oregon, a little bit more explosive. They hit some big plays. They're playing at home, and really that's the difference because these teams are so similar, so close. It's one that's very tough to predict. This year, I'm not just going to, all the close games, I'm not just going to say, okay, I'm going with the home team. But in this case, when it's this close, I am going to go with the home team. I think Oregon wins, but I do think it's very close. And again, one of the better games of the season and one of the biggest games for sure in that one. So they get a bye week after that. Then they'll play Nebraska on October 26th. Program that seems to be headed in the right direction under Matt Rule. You wonder about Dylan Raiola as a freshman. How good is he going to be? I think this Nebraska team will be improved some this year, but not to the level that they can really compete with Ohio State. Maybe their defense keeps it somewhat close, but playing at home, Buckeyes should roll here. I think they take care of business over Nebraska. Again, that's following a bye week. Then they play Penn State on the road November 2nd. Going to be a tough one. That's a tough place to play. Penn State's going to have a really good defense again, so you're looking at another lower scoring game, I think, in this one. I just question Penn State's ability to really do much on offense against this Ohio State defense. They're going to be too one-dimensional. They're going to have to run the football and depend on the run game. They've lost their top two receivers. Throwing the football, I think, is going to be tough for Penn State. The tight ends will have to have a huge game if they're going to have a chance in this one. But I just think Ohio State's defense, they shut them down. It's a very similar game to last year. I think it's low scoring. Again, you're talking about the Iowa game and the Penn State games. Both of these games being very low scoring. But Ohio State, I think, is the better team, the team that is able to get enough against a really good defense, and their defense steps up, and they win both of those games. So I've got them beating Penn State. Then they'll play Purdue on November 9th at home. I think they should roll in this game. Really, no reason to expect Purdue to put up much of a fight. So Buckeyes win there, gets to 8-1. Then they play Northwestern here on November 16th. And I did just miss a bye week because I went through those first three games. Their first bye week is actually between Western Michigan and Marshall. So they do have that other bye week after Oregon, but then that's it. You'd like to maybe have a bye week later in the season. But anyways, they play Northwestern on the road November 16th. Not really a trap game because the next week they have Indiana. So, I mean, I think with Ohio State being clearly the better team, they go in there and take care of business. I know there was the rain game, windy game a couple of years ago where they struggled. And unless the weather really plays a factor in this game, I think Ohio State should take care of business. They play Indiana on November 23rd, which is a sneaky team this year. I don't think people are talking about Indiana. They got a great coach. They brought in some transfers. I think they're going to be pretty good. And this is also the game right before Michigan. So I think this is a trap game for Ohio State. And it's one that they are going to probably find themselves in a close game in the second half. I really feel like that could be the case. I think their defense, though, is going to do enough. Even if the offense maybe is a little sluggish in this game, their defense will do enough that it's not going to be a one-score game, but a closer game. Maybe they win it by 14 to 17 points. And again, it's a scare. Maybe you see the score at halftime and you're like, whoa, what is going on? But I think they will pull away late and get this win. Then they play Michigan. The final game of the season. Michigan are riding off of that win streak in this rivalry, something that I don't think many people would have seen coming 4 or 5 years ago. But Michigan has won now 3 games in a row. And I think that might change this year. I just look at the two teams. I look at Michigan's offense, and I just don't see them being able to score much at all in this game. It's going to be a struggle for them. Again, this Ohio State defense is going to be elite. And then I think Ohio State's offense is also going to struggle to score against Michigan, but I like that matchup a little bit more. I think they're going to be just better overall offensively, and they'll find a way to score some points playing at home. A close game, rivalry game, another low-scoring game. I think that's going to be a theme for Ohio State in a lot of their big games with Iowa and Penn State, now this Michigan game. But they do enough to get the win. The offense does enough for Ohio State to get a close win, maybe a 10-point win. Maybe it's not a down-to-the-wire type game, but a pretty close win for Ohio State. And again, a lot of low-scoring games. Maybe the Oregon game is the one game where we see some points, but a lot of these big games, I think, are going to be defensive battles. And that's good news for Ohio State when in the past it maybe wasn't. because they've got the defense now to win those types of games, and I think that's why they win those games and they finish 11-1. So those are my predictions for Ohio State. We'd love to get your predictions for this team, and let me know what you think about the Buckeyes down in the comments below.